In the previous parts, when we have loaded the data, we have assumed that we always get a response and nothing can go wrong. But that is almost never the case, so it's really important that you have an error handling mechanism set up in your Angular applications. The error handling in HttpClient is essential to handle potential errors that can occur during HTTP requests in an Angular application. When making HTTP requests, different issues can arise, such as a server error, it can be a network issue, or even an incorrect URL. In our case, it can be just an incorrect path to the JSON files. So, proper error handling ensures that your application can handle these errors and provide feedback to the user if it's necessary. We have said that HttpClient in Angular provides methods like get, post, put, delete, etc. And so far we have used the get method to make an HTTP request. Now here in the home component, if I just go to the getFanFavoriteMovies and hover on the get method, you'll see that this method will return an observable. The observable in here represents the response from the server, and you need to subscribe to this observable to handle the successful response or potential errors. Now, so far we have assumed that everything will work as expected, so we have just used the subscribe method for the successful response. Now you can handle errors in Angular by using the HTTP client, and on this part we are going to talk about two different methods that you can use. The first one is going to be by using the subscribe method, and the second one is by using the catch error operator and the pipe method. So let us start with the first method in here, which is to get the fan favorite movies. And for that, inside the subscribe method, we are going to use the next, error, and complete cases. So inside subscribe, I'm going to open curly brackets. And then in here, I'm going to define three cases, that is the next. So if it's successful, it means that I'll get some data. So I'll get some data. And then just set the data to the fan favorite movies. The second case is going to be if there is an error. So if there is an error, then I'll just get the error and simply console.log the error. And in here, optionally, if you want, you can just type error loading fan favorites data, and here just error. And if you want, there is one additional case, which is the complete. So complete, and in the complete, it doesn't take any values or it doesn't return anything, but inside here you can just type console.log request completed successfully. This block in here is called when the observable completes, and it's an optional block. So if you want, you can just remove this one. It will work just fine. Let us do the same for the other one. So for the getTopMovies, in here curly brackets, the first case next, and on the next, which is the successful case, I'll just cut this data, paste it in here. The second case we said is the error. Here we have the error object, and then it goes to console.log and error loading top movies, then just error. And the final one, or the complete, is the case which is an optional case, which will be called when the observable completes. So for that, just copy and paste, and then request completed successfully. If you want, you can just add the method name in here, so getTopMovies. Let's add it up here as well. Then let's do the same for the getFanFavoriteMovies. Then just replace the method name. And what I'll do is that I'll just go back to the app, then here press F12, then go to console, and then here click the home button. you can see that you get the getFanFavorite request completed successfully and getTopMovies request completed successfully. So let us just go and break the request so an error is thrown. And then here I'll just type temp, which is not true anymore. So it's going to throw an error. And down here, temp as well. Save the changes, go back to the browser. And now you see that we don't have any data. And if you want to check the error, so for the fan favorite, it says that this is the error. It's an HTTP error response. These are the headers. This is the error itself. And then all the other data, like for example, the message which says that the HTTP failure response for this movies temp.json 404 not found, so it couldn't find this JSON file. And this is the URL, this is the status text and the status code, which is 404. And the same is true for the top movies temp. So now let us go back to Visual Studio Code and learn how to use the catch error operator and the pipe method. In here, I'll first remove the temp and then the temp from here. I'm just going to use this method, so Control C, Control KC to comment it out, and then paste it up here. And we're going to update this code to use the pipe method instead of the subscribe, so pipe. And then in here inside the pipe, we're going to use the catch error, and this method is going to be, or is going to return an error. And all we need to do, or we want to do, is just log the error. So just Control C, Control V to paste it in here, and just console log error. And then inside here, you can either return a fallback value or just perform any error handling logic. What I'll do is that I'll just return an empty or default value of an error. So for that, return auth and then null. Now let us import the auth, and that belongs to the RxJS. So I'll just import. And then down here, if there is no error after the pipe, you can still subscribe. So what I'll do, I'll just remove this code. And then, so if everything is good after the pipe, I'll just subscribe to the observable so I can get the data. This is going to be a successful response. So if you want, you can just check the data as well. So if you have some data, then this dot fan favorite movies is equal to data. Otherwise, this dot fan favorites is going to be just an empty array. And here you can see that we have an error. And if you want, you can just remove the any from here. So I'll just remove the any because that's already defined in here. So it's kind of redundant actually. So I'll just remove the any, save all the changes. And then I'll just go to the app first to see if the fan favorites are loaded successfully. You can see that we have the fan favorites. So we have the fan favorites data. Now let us just go and break the URL. Just change this to temp. I'll save the changes, go back to the app. And now you can see that we have an error. And the error in here says that error loading fan favorites data, and you have the HTTP error response with all the necessary data. I'll just go back to the app one last time. And in here, I'm going to comment out this method. I'll enable the other one because I do actually prefer using the subscribe method for handling errors, because it gives me all these cases in here like the next, error, and complete. And I don't think it's clear compared to using the catch error and the pipe method. But it's a personal choice. I'll just leave the code in here. And if you want, whenever you work in your Angular applications, you can use similar code to handle the errors.